Good morning. This is Norma Cowie once more on Norma Talks. Well, today is the last day of June. And because it's the last day of June and tomorrow is July the 1st, I decided I would do my July reading for North America today. And so I'm going to once more do my share, which trustingly will come up really easily for me, because sometimes it doesn't always. So this is for the month of July. So this is jumping in. I haven't really read it. I looked at the symbols and said, oh my goodness, what are we're going a little bit all over. So as always, I start with in the beginning. I've got them laid down here in front of me. The Three of Wands is always projecting out. And, like we've been mandatory having to wear a mask leaves us tomorrow. We're in a heat wave here too, by the way, which is why I'm in a sundress today. It's like a beginning, a newness, a looking forward, and we're projecting forward of more and better and changes. And of course, now many other things are happening. I know I've been watching tennis at Wimbledon, and they're having people in there, and excuse me, just like they did in Paris. So newness, change, projecting out. And that, I think, is going to be the name of the game for the beginning part of July. And as we even come into the end of the first week, around the 7th, there is more maybe laws or more an unexpected blockage of what we were expecting, I think. And it's going to be just a little few days, maybe from the 7th to the 10th, where things are going to be a little bit unsettled. And then they get back on track again, where we're moving forward in the direction. And that takes us to the middle, the Six of Wands. Now, in the Six of Wands, where we're going in the middle here, the key I have always given this symbol is victory is assured, because of the victory, laurel wreath of victory sitting there. And all the wands have straightened out from the symbol before, from the Five of Wands, where it's very confusing, etc. Now, the interesting thing here as we go forward is that things are working, things are beginning to happen. Again, I get a sense of money being loosened up. The symbol, the Six of Pentacles, doesn't always show that it's money. It can be distribution of energy, many other things. But I really feel here more money is going to be loosened up for certain peoples and certain, and not everyone, and I really sense this, not everyone is going to be available for this money. It's not something that's going to be generally given out, but a section is going to be given out, and there will be money distributed. And so consequently, as we come more into the 15th to the 20th, we're going to be feeling like, oh, okay, things are settling down, things are happening, we're moving in the appropriate direction of where we want to go and what we want to do, and everything seems to be working very well. Up to the 20th. It's after the 20th. Now, my birthday falls just after the 20th, so I'm looking at this going, oh, what's going on here? First of all, a lot of things that people were hoping for seems to drop away. And this is where I often talk about acceptance of how things are, which I'm going to talk about a little bit later in more detail. But it's like, a lot of what we had, we realize we're not going to have again, that things are changing. And it talks about turning around and looking in a new direction, that Five of Cups sitting there. And so don't cry over what's lost. Take a look at where you're heading and how you can utilize and create and work with what is now occurring. And then it shows that the King of Pentacles, where he's mastering everything and keeping everything under, you might say, your fingertips, making sure everything is working. But then comes the but. The but is the moon. Now, the moon to me is yes, it can be a fear symbol, but it's also about deceit. It's also about not seeing things as they are. So often in our minds, we want to see things the way we want to see them. And that is reinforced right up to the end of the month with the Queen of Cups. I think that last week or last 10 days even, is not going to be as easy as the first part of July. I think first part of July, there's a little bit of shift and change, but I really feel that it's going to move, and then we're going to hit that 20th or around there anyway. And even though we're going to be working to solidify things, it just seems to me it's all emotion, except for the King of Pentacles sits in the middle. It's all emotion, and it's all not imagination and not seeing things for what they are. And isn't that what we do so often? When things are not the way we want, we just pretend they are, or we pretend they're going to be, or it's going to be all right. So we don't always look at, quote, the reality of the situation. Now, if I look at this from for me, the left-hand side, which is the Three of Wands, the Five of Cups, the Queen of Cups, it says you're projecting out, but the projections may not come into fruition. So don't sit there and go, oh, what do I do now? It's like acceptance and begin to change and look at reality. This is the last part of July is all about reality. So what is the actual reality? What's going on here? Even our middle row here, where we've got the Six of Wands, the King of Pentacles with the Queen of Cups. Now, this looks very good. We've got ideas, we've got plans, they're going to be in fruition, we can handle them, we can deal with them, but then we still end up always with this not being able to see the reality as the Queen of Cups. She is an imaginary person. She lives a lot in her mind of how things, and the thing is, you can look at the Five of Cups, for those of you that don't know tarot, and you see the cups and what they look like. Excuse me. Then you look at the Queen of Cups, which is just below it to the right there at the bottom. That cup doesn't look like anything like those other cups. It's all made magical, and it's even got a lid on it, so nothing new can get in. And even the little baby mermaids at that, they're baby mermaids. They're not real mermaids. And also they hold the fish in the stone, and the fish is always the surprises of life, according to me. Now, on the right-hand side, we have the King of Cups, the Moon, and the Queen of Cups. So the King of Cups rides above his feelings. He uses his mind a lot, doesn't want to really look at things either on an emotional level. But look what's underneath him is the Moon, again, not wanting to look at emotion, again, with the Queen of Cups, not wanting to look. We're wanting to stay in our minds and rationalizing everything, which is not going to help us with how we feel about things. So when I really looked at this, and I'm going to rearrange these in a moment, when I before I rearranged them, when I looked at this first, I didn't want to read them until I sit down to read them for you. I was like, oh, wow, where is this going to go? Because there's some interesting symbols in here. And so as I take a moment, which you won't see is how I rearrange these, but I usually put them in their suits and in the higher arcana cards, which is the laws and the lessons, and get them sorted out. So basically we have, if you look here, you will see you've got the Justice symbol and the Moon. Those are two higher arcana cards. So that's the higher power in the reading. Now the Justice is, you could say, justice. This often I find is also a commitment to decisions that have been previously made. I also, because it does deal with what we call karma, what you put out, you get back. So, and it's because of the sword too. It's saying, and it's not blind, like they say justice is blind. And we know already that's not really true. And this shows that his eyes are wide open. But what's behind the cloth at the back between the two pillows? What's behind that? Now, in the High Priestess, which is number 2, which is a very similar symbol, and is also number 2, and this is a number 11, which is a higher power of a 2, you see the river of life behind there. And as time went on, and I was looking at the journey of this, what I began to realize in the number 2, the High Priestess, we make a decision, but here in number 11, we make a commitment. So there's deeper commitments going on here, but I don't know whether we're deceived. I don't know, because the Moon is about deception, where we deceive ourselves. But because we're reading generally for this whole North American area that I and many of you live in, this is about being deceived. This is about not really on it, and leading us into what I love about this particular symbol. I don't love it, but it's got 15 little yards of light between the pillars. If you look, it might be hard to see on the screen. That's the number of the devil symbol. That's where our emotions are so tied up we can't see for anything, and we can't really untie ourselves. So there, I just feel there's a lot of deception going to come out towards the end of the month. Maybe we'll become aware of the deception, or maybe the deception will keep on continuing. And we will not be aware, because there's a lot of saying, I don't want to know about that. So we want a little bit more clarity there. The wand symbols is how we think. It shows there's new ideas and we're putting them into practice, and that gets my full, what do you say, full essence of that. I like that. The cups represent the value, whether you're happy or sad and have to deal with your emotions. We have one symbol which talks about being sad over what's lost. But then we have two, what I call court cards, which is the Queen and the King of Cups. Again, not always dealing with emotionality as effectively as we would like. So there can be reactions based on that. We can be like the ostrich and put our head in the sand, and then what? And then finally, we don't have any swords, which are the problems. That's because it's not like a problem that we can really address. It's subtle, it's underneath, it's the uncertainty. And then finally, the pentacles to me is always what manifests in the real world. And there is some distributing of wealth or energy and all those kind of things. And May's basically another king here. And this one I really, really like, because it shows you're in command of your material world. I think we probably have a choice, because the justice symbol does deal with commitment to the plan or the choice that we have in life. I think we have a choice, and the choice will be feel your feelings. Know that your feelings are the way they are. And every month when I do this, we'll just have to see how the month unfolds as the symbology is taught to me. So I'm going to stop the share, come back to myself, and say, one of the things, and I was thinking, well, okay, what am I going to talk about today? And there's a couple of things I wanted to talk about. And first of all, I'm going to talk about how quick things can change. As a reader, I read knowing that we're in command of our lives. As a reader, I know that unless we make changes to our thinking and feeling and responding, things remain the same. When something comes along, we'll react to it. And the thing is, we want to be able to react to it effectively. We want a result in the end of our lives where we go and how that is. And very often I talk about acceptance. I just had a question posed to me, actually, was, what is, I've now forgotten, I remember the acceptance part, because that's where I am, or allowing versus acceptance. Allowing means you just let things go the way they want. But what I found, and it's something to remember, to accept what is 100%, this is the key. You can't accept it 78 or 80 or 95 even. You've got to accept what is happening and what's going on 100%. You're free then to make a different decision. Just remember what I'm saying here. If you accept something that you don't like 100%, it frees you up to make a different decision. In other words, you can respond with it differently. You can handle it differently. You can usually decide something totally different. And then you do the action to follow that, because the acceptance comes first. Now, most of us don't like that. We just want things to be the way we want them to be. And so we ignore. We do like that Queen of Cups. We put our head in the sand. I don't really want to have to deal with this. Oh, it'll fix up. That's allowing. That's allowing. And sometimes a lot of our lives are fine and we don't mind. We don't ever think about it. It just rolls along and it works. But the moment we're not happy with something, we've got to take a look at how we want to handle it. And then I find the majority of us do not want to accept that's the reality that we're in. We just refuse to accept it. We just go, no, we don't want to accept this. And excuse me, they're the ones that end up at my door, sitting at my table or by the phone or by Zoom the last year and a half. So there is a whole lot of other elements here to notice that sometimes to change the environment that you're in or to change a situation, the major key is to accept it. And as I've already said, most people don't really want to have to accept it 100%. I know I myself were in situations knowing how this works and still would not move from 98% acceptance to 100. But the moment I went to 100, then I would do something about it. Hear me snap my fingers at that, because that's how quick it is. Once you go, oh yeah, this is never going to change, because in our human nature, we expect it to change without us doing anything. And if it involves another person, like relationships, if it develops in the governments and things like that, this is how it is. So what are you choosing? How are you choosing to handle it? News is coming down that we don't maybe like as a people, but what do we choose to do about it? That becomes the key. And that the first step is acceptance. And in the acceptance, then we can move. Because that's what the other thing I wrote down here was how quick can things change. Once you accept something, things can change very, very quickly, because you then begin to move into action. But normally in a life pattern that we don't change, things do not change very much. Oh, circumstances around us may change, which may necessitate a change. And usually that happens even if we're dragging our feet. We still have to accept that, because we're not in command of a lot of parts of our lives. We're just living our lives. And the other thing I had this week was somebody asked me, how do I know if it's fear or it's in intuition? And I thought I'd add that in today as well. Fear is that we're scared of something, so we react, and it sort of comes from an emotional place. Intuition is a knowing. You just know it. It's not like a fear or a reaction. So if you think if you don't really like the situation and yet you feel like you've got an intuition to do something different, make sure it is a knowing, not a feeling. Just a little thought on that one, because that is kind of what we need to do, or where we need to go, and what we need to create. So we've looked at what's coming up in July. I don't like around my birthday it starts, so I'm going to be like, I wonder what is going on. I'll keep my ear out or my eye out for circumstances that are happening, and also knowing that things can change, because people make decisions, and you and I are just regular people living our lives, and there are other people that are making decisions that affect our lives. And we can't do much about, mostly we can't do much about that, it seems, these days. We just have to go along and trust that eventually things come along. But I have found by accepting what is, then it makes it easier for me to be me in the situations that go, any situations pretty well, because if I don't really like it, then I can choose what I want to do about it. So I want to wish you very, very well for this coming holiday weekend, because as Canadians, we have tomorrow's celebration. My US friends have the 4th for celebration. So it's a celebration time of our unions, our country, our togetherness. So trustingly, we will all get to experience that. I wish you well. I want to thank you for listening. I want to thank you for your subscriptions, your likes, etc., your comments. And I'll be back on Sunday and again next Wednesday. So blessings to each one of you. Please enjoy your week. Please do those things that make you feel really, really good. And if you live in the Heatville like we are right now, I'm sure it's getting cooler. God bless.